council meeting to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councillor Heller,
Here.
Councillor Eber,
Here.
Councillor Holen,
Here.
Councillor McGuire,
Here.
Councillor Robinson,
Here.
Councillor Fisher.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next up is audience participation, and we actually have people in the audience this evening. So, yeah, exactly. It's a rare occurrence. This is Laura, I think it's Chris. Please state your name and address for the record, and no heckling from the peanut gallery, please.
Okay. Laura Chrisman, 18 Cherry Lane Drive. I'm going to speak quickly because I have 5 minutes. I'm here to discuss the 2 trails previously shown on the city trail map, which have been deleted. One was in Charlevoix, it's a very small one, and the second in the north of Cherry Hills Country Club. My review of agendas, etc., do not indicate that deleting trails was ever a subject of discussion. I think perhaps it appears under errors. And I do not agree that showing these easements was an error. I do agree, however, that now the tiny easement in Charlou Trail should not appear on the map. Does not say that it was an error before, but clearly it is appropriate. I have looked at all of the recorded documents. I have gone to look at the property, and I do agree that it should be deleted from the map. I do not agree that the Sunset Trail should be removed. It has appeared on the map for more than the requisite period of prescriptive rights. No one has been objecting to this easement trail, so to speak. Oh, sorry. Removing it, combined with statements from the city that this was an error, or to that effect, is a clear statement against the interests of the public in that trail. And incorrect, in my opinion. It was clearly, intentionally put on the map at the time it was on the map. That was not a mistake. Somebody used that trail. I have used that trail. Others in this room have used that trail. It is rather interesting that it is in fact a recorded bridle trail. It was recorded, I've been looking at documents, not enough. I've got many more I could look at if you want me to. It was recorded in 1937. On that plat, it says a statement. These are not intended to be public, essentially. That's a statement, which means that they didn't intend them to be public. Hence, the prescriptive easement rights. A statement that they had not been dedicated is incorrect. Well, no, it's not incorrect. They weren't dedicated. It was 1937. We didn't exist as a city. They couldn't have been dedicated to the city of Cherry Hills. I believe that intentionally removing this strongest indicia of a public prescriptive easement right, along with a statement that it was an error, is an action in violation of the Charter Amendment as an indirect removal. But I want to set that aside because that's a legal argument. I don't really think it's as important as our master plan. Our master plan said people wanted trails. They want trails. I don't think they said anywhere in there, let's remove some. And I would recommend highly that that be put back on. I think it is the strongest indicia of the prescriptive right. It does not mean that there aren't others, but taking it off destroys, in my opinion, our prescriptive right, whatever prescriptive rights we have. So, just as an aside, it is not the only prescriptive easement shown on the map. Holly Trail is a prescriptive easement. There are other prescriptive easements that I'm not going to talk about unless somebody wants to ask me at another time. But simply put, it's a trail, it's a public trail, at least it's a strong indicia of a public trail, and we should leave it there, put it back. I think Parks and Trails was told it was an error. I think if you want to ask them, they would change their position on it, if they were told it was not an error. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak? We don't? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to the reports from city boards and commissions. Seeing none, the consent agenda.
And I move approval of consent agenda items 6A and B.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Moving on to unfinished business. The affirmation of Ordinance 7, Series 2025, a bill for an emergency ordinance of the City of Cherry Hills Village establishing a temporary moratorium on the acceptance and processing of new applications, seeking the approval of a subdivision and declaring an emergency, period. That's on second and final reading. Director Workman.
Well done, Madam Mayor. That is quite the mouthful. I will not attempt to restate all of that, but this is a readoption and a final reading affirming action previously taken by the council. Council may recall there's a section in our subdivision regulations 17-3-30 that requires a dedication of 7.5% of land associated with any subdivision, excuse me, to facilitate the acquisition and development of open space, parks, trails, and other community recreational, cultural, and educational and civic amenities and facilities. At the city's discretion, rather than accepting a land dedication, the city can accept a fee in lieu of that land dedication. In December of last year, council approved this moratorium on first reading. The moratorium approved a 9-month, basically pause on the acceptance and processing of new subdivision applications that require either the land dedication or a fee in lieu of land dedication. As you all recall, back in 2024, there was a U.S. Supreme Court case out of California, commonly referred to as the Sheets case, that sort of shifted the paradigm a little bit on the requirement for land dedication or fee in lieu. And so the moratorium is intended to give us some time as a staff to get with a consultant and determine if the current requirement continues to meet the needs of the city. I'm happy to report that Manager Black and I have had several conversations with Tischler Bice at this point. We believe we reached agreement on scope of services and cost, and we'll be moving forward with a contract to get that project formally underway. That would conclude staff's presentation. However, we certainly are available for any questions you all may have.
Are there any questions? Councilor Fisher.
Thank you. I just have a question about the timing. So just backing up, since PTRC has to have it first, PRTC has to have it first, what are you thinking month-wise?
In terms of the study?
Well, so if the study is done by, what, like April?
Yeah, right now the schedule is about a 4-month lead time from when we give them the notice to proceed to
Okay,
when.
so that May would be the earliest at this point. So then, planning and zoning could get it in June. I mean, it seems like we have to have it twice here, right?
What's that?
If there are any changes, is what I'm saying, right? If
Yeah,
study comes
so
back and.
the intention would
that
not be just to bring it one time for all three bodies, right? There'll be an opportunity for council to see it before it's in a quote final or a draft condition. And then Planning and Zoning Commission and PTRC will see a draft of the document. All that's built into that 4-month timeframe.
Okay. Oh, into the 4 months?
That's correct.
Oh, okay. I didn't think any of that could start until after the 4 months. That's where I
no,
was wondering how we could get it all done by
that-
September.
No, that timeframe includes all
Perfect.
check-ins with boards and commissions,
Okay, thanks for explaining.
elected officials.
Okay, gotcha.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
I move to affirm by readoption on second and final reading, Ordinance 7, Series 2025, an emergency ordinance of the City of Cherry Hills Village, establishing a temporary moratorium on the acceptance and processing of new applications, seeking the approval of a subdivision, and declaring an emergency.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Heller?
Yes.
Counselor Eber?
Aye.
Counselor Holen?
Aye.
Counselor McGuire?
Aye.
Counselor Robinson?
Yes.
Counselor Fisher?
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Next up is Council Bill 1, Series 2026, a bill for an ordinance of the City of Cherry Hills Village adding a new Article 2 to Chapter 13 of the Cherry Hills Village Municipal Code, enacting an industrial pretreatment program on second and final reading. Director Goldie.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. So just as a review, this new Article to Chapter 13, the municipal code is for a pretreatment program that is required by the EPA as part of our agreement with City of Inglewood and South Platte Renew. There have been no changes to the ordinance, and staff is available if there are any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve on second and final reading Council Bill 1, Series 2026, adding a new Article 2 to Chapter 13 of the Cherry Hills Municipal Code, enacting an industrial pretreatment program.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Heller,
Yes.
Counselor Eber,
Aye.
Counselor Holen,
Aye.
Counselor McGuire,
Aye.
Counselor Robinson,
Yes.
Counselor Fisher.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Thank you so much. Next up is the discussion of the Parks and Trails map redesign. And this has come before us once before. I will turn it over to Manager Black. There you are, over there.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. So as you'll recall, council reviewed this item last at the January 6th meeting, and at that meeting provided direction to continue the item to tonight's meeting and gave direction for 3 specific changes to the trail map. So to update the map's disclaimer language, adding a caveat that there's no crossing between the Academy Trail and the Cherry Trail across University Boulevard, and to show the sidewalk on South Dahlia Street. So we have gone ahead and made all of those updates. You have a copy in your packet. The map does also now show that on-street connection within Buell Mansion subdivision that previously appeared on the old version of the trail map. All of the changes that council gave us direction for do appear on the front side of the map, so you'll see all of those changes on this view, and there were no changes made to the back of
We didn't even get that far last time.
so that will appear exactly the same if you're flipping between your old packet and the new one. So once we have council's approval on the map, we will go ahead and prepare the map for printing. The lead time is about 4 to 6 weeks, and then PTRC plans to start distributing the maps at their upcoming events. The first one would be a scavenger hunt on May 2nd. So there's a motion on your screen, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. Counselor Eber.
Madam Mayor, if I may, I'd like to, without knowing the exact statutory citation, I would like to move that we move into executive session for a brief discussion to obtain legal advice regarding some of the issues associated with the map.
We do need to have the exact statutory citation.
Can you
for it
provide
to be
that?
valid, so I will need a few minutes to prepare that.
Yes, thank you. We will wait briefly. While we're waiting for that, are there any questions that maybe would not pertain to an executive session? Yes, Counselor Robinson.
So, Manager Black, will this be folded similarly to the way that the previous map was folded?
Yes, yes, it will be. So there are, you'll notice, this is a little bit cut off because I tried to make it legible, but there's a blank space at the top corner and the bottom corner of the map. So that is where the cards that are on the front and back of the existing map will go. So it'll be a slightly larger size when it's all folded together. But yes, same idea. We'll be using the same company, Z Cards, for the printing. So it will look pretty much substantially like it does now.
Great. And will the font be similar size as presented here? I find it a little bit hard to read.
The
but I can barely do it.
printout that you have, the 11 by 17, is actually smaller than the final map will be. So the one that you had at the last meeting was closer to that size. We just didn't quite have time to get the changes made with our cartographer and get it to the printer in time to have it for council, unfortunately.
Thank you.
I thought one of the things that we were going to do was put an indication on the, maybe I'm misremembering this. I thought we were going to put indication on the map that there is no crossing permitted.
It's on there. It's just,
it on
in
there?
this, on here, it's so tiny. It's this little text.
This is the old one. It's, this text, right?
I thought the same thing, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's
I wonder
what
if we
that
put that
says.
in a box or something, if that might be easier to see.
Yeah, we could certainly put a rectangle around it
Yeah.
as more of a call out.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I completely missed it.
Thank you.
I don't know how.
You know, one of the things that, because you said you included all the changes, one of the things that I mentioned the last time, and I said, there are a lot of people, we have one of them today, that know about, Article 3.9. And I think it's important, I did then, I still believe, that in the disclaimer, there needs to be sort of just a citation that basically says that it's not to be used for that purpose or shouldn't be used for any purpose like that. I mean, it's like a notification saying, hey, don't go thinking this map has got anything to do with Article 3.9. And maybe I'm the only one that thinks that, and I thought, well, then what's the best way to kind of do that? And I thought, well, maybe it's the second sentence, and you say, this map is for general informational purposes only, does not represent a legal survey or a comprehensive depiction of the city's real property interests, and should not be used for such purposes, including but not limited to protections afforded to city real property interests under Article 3.9 of the City of Cherry Hills Village Home Rule Charter. And I still think that that's important to let the citizens know that if they have a concern about Article 3.9 or the city property, they need to look elsewhere.
So we thought about the more general reference of the language very carefully. And pertinent to some of the comments we've already heard tonight, there's an argument that the map could be relevant to that. So it may cut against a particular assertion.
Are we
Or-
moving into a discussion we should be having in executive session?
I'm about to truncate here,
Okay.
and I believe that this can be covered by the motion that I drafted just now.
Okay.
But there's careful consideration on why we didn't go into that level
How
of
to word that.
specificity.
Okay.
Okay, we'll talk about it.
Counselor Eber.
Let me see if I can go back now with some more specificity. I move to go into executive session for a conference with the city attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions under CRS Section 24.6.4024B regarding the depiction of certain trails on the city draft parks and trails map.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I know we need a 2/3, which is the same as a majority, but, or does it have to be unanimous? I don't know. 2/3, yep. Okay. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Heller?
Yes.
Counselor Eber?
Aye.
Counselor Holen?
Aye.
Counselor McGuire?
Aye.
Counselor Robinson?
Yes.
Counselor Fisher?
Aye.
That passes unanimously. We will move into executive session and return shortly. Okay, we are back. It is 7:59 PM. Okay. I would entertain a motion, and then we will have discussion on that motion.
I move to approve the updated Parks and Trails map and authorize staff to correct any scrivener's errors prior to printing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I'm going to specifically request discussion from every member present so that it is clear that decisions are not made in the executive session. We'll start with Counselor Heller.
I don't have any further questions.
I need to hear your thoughts on the motion so that it's clear that we didn't decide this and this is just rubber stamping a decision that was already made. So
No,
whatever
But I have not made a decision, that's the point.
Oh, okay,
So,
okay.
in there or out here or anywhere else. So
Okay.
still on the map.
Counselor Ebert?
Mayor, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to go into executive session and try and receive some more advice on some of this. My sense, having heard the advice provided in the question and the discussion about the legal merits and detractions, would indicate to me that the master plan indicates that we want to have trails in this village. They're the number one amenity to the village. To the extent that we act in accordance with preserving our trail system, my belief is that we should act in what I see as a conservative manner of where we have trails or believe we may have an interest in a trail, that we have an obligation to try and preserve all of our rights and arguments that we have certain trails. And so with that said, my belief is that we did have that discussion. And, I rise in opposition to the motion as a result of my calculation of what I believe to be a conservative position.
Okay, thank you. Counselor, or Mayor Pro Tem Holland.
Yeah, I guess after listening to all of the legal advice that we had and the discussion that we had here previously, and as I understand now what an on-street connection is, which I like that term, so kudos to staff and to Parks and Trails who came up with that. And notwithstanding the fact that it is a private road, what the issue is that it was previously marked as a trail, which, there's been discussion about the issues associated with that. But it is previously marked as a way to connect from a previous trail to another trail, University and then along Hampden. And I don't see why we wouldn't just mark that again and mark it as an on-street connection. And I guess that's kind of where I am right now. And subject to, I'd be prepared to make an amendment to the recommended motion along those lines. But before I do that, I'd like to hear what everybody else has to say.
That's what I was going to suggest. We can have further comments, and then if anybody wants to make an amendment, we can entertain that. Counselor McGuire.
The issue that we seem caught on is whether or not the yellow dots should be put back on the map at Cherry Hills Drive. And the minutes show that the yellow dots on the old map, it says, do not correspond to trail easements. Those were added in 2007 and kept in 2009 to show places people could walk on quieter streets, particularly because, that they were intended to connect other parks and trails, but were not indicative of them being a trail themselves. I think that we do not want to because we now know, and I think that we have, it says here, and I think we've also gotten council's opinion, that this is a private easement, it is a private road and a private bridle path. And in
Excuse-
other situations in the city.
I just don't want, I don't want to
This is my
disclose,
turn to
I don't
talk
want to
now,
disclose the
Rob.
contents.
This is my turn to talk.
Matter of,
But we do have
I
concepts
don't
around
want-
executive session,
Council
so.
has said it's a private easement, and the
I
city
don't want to
has
disclose
retained.
counsel to us. I don't think that that is
Yes,
an
please-
appropriate
Please remember
matter for
that part of,
discussion.
that there
All
were
right,
legal
I'm
memos that were
sorry. I will-
attorney-client privilege.
I will then refer to the minutes where we have hired consultants who have reviewed the documents, and city staff has reviewed the documents and said it is a private road and a private easement. So, I know there is thought that we should keep the dots on there in case in the future we want to be able to
Again-
claim. I don't think that.
Executive session legal arguments are protected. Are
Can I not
protected.
discuss
The
this?
discussion in executive
I don't
session
think
is
this
protected.
okay. I don't know why we would keep that easement, keep reflecting that as some type of an easement, or that there is a right to the public on there, when we have received advice from consultants that it is a private easement. Other private easements, such as Canito, we have removed those dots. We returned the dots on Buell Mansion because they were reviewed and staff said it was on the plat that the public was entitled to walk through where the dots are shown. I think it is not right that we should be giving the public the impression that they are entitled to walk on a private lane when it is private property. And if people there want to allow people to walk on it, that's one thing. But I don't think it's our position as a city to be showing that it's permissible to walk through what is private property.
Thank you. Councilor Robinson.
First, I want to thank the PRTC and Emily and Jay and for all the effort that has gone into hours and hours to put this together. And I do appreciate the executive session. I think I learned a lot in that session and tried to look at this very carefully from both sides. And the positive thing for me was what I believe to be the fact that it was a easement for the private easement for the citizens within that neighborhood. It was not a public easement, and so for that reason, I believe I'm in favor of approving the map as it's been presented.
Councilor Fisher.
Thank you. Yeah, I too wanted to recognize PTRC that now 9 months, I suppose, or 9.5 months of working on this. And I go back to, in addition to agreeing to Councilor Robinson's and Councilor McGuire's comments, the purpose of the map is a tool only for people to know where they can walk in our city. And because Cherry Hills Drive is a private road, and there are multiple signs that say it's a private road, I think it would be actually more confusing if we had on the map that was a connector to another trail. So I am in favor of the map as proposed.
Thanks. Councilor Heller, have you?
Yeah, I have a, thank you for allowing me to listen to the rest of the councilors' discussion here. I too prefer the amendment or the motion as proposed for the reasons that have been stated.
Okay.
Can I just ask one question? Because I want to just add, because
Sure.
Councilor McGuire, very persuasive arguments, but it really hit me, and then what you all just said as well, in terms of communicating to the public. This map could fail. It could be not approved. And I haven't heard anybody say that they want to withdraw the old map. What if this didn't get approved? The old map continues to stay out there and continues to say, as it did for years, you can walk on this street. So with that, give me some more, I mean, because your arguments really hit me. I mean, they're really, really persuasive. But then I just thought, right when I hit that, I'm going, we shouldn't be communicating with our public. And I'm like, well, this map
Well,
could not be
don't-
approved, and if it's not, then what?
Well, don't forget that there are so many other improvements that this map has done,
Right,
you know, particularly naming the trails rather than having them numbered.
I agree.
And clarifying maybe some things that we don't use the same way, or we are using different ways, so. And additional information about Quincy Farm, and, you know, there are a lot of other things on this new map.
Oh, no, I agree. No, I'm saying, I'm not saying we shouldn't be approving it. I'm saying
Okay.
if it didn't, I'm addressing
We
the
would
one
lose
thing
all
about
that.
why
We
would
would
we?
lose all that.
Why would we be communicating to the public about a trail that they can walk on this road and they can't? I'm focusing on that statement. I'm going, well, we were doing that for a long time, and if this map failed, it would stay that way.
Right. And if I were not familiar with that area of our city, and I were using the map, I don't know that I'd be comfortable walking there. I know I can, probably, but, you know, I would think that this must be wrong,
Okay,
personally.
okay.
Okay,
Mayor, may I?
yes. And then
In
we'll wrap it up.
response to some of the comments that have been made about the finding of the consultant and that this is a private easement, I think that I distinguish whether or not a road, saying private road signs, that the road could be private, and the trail that was listed on the map may or may not be. But the fact of the matter is that as a result of the action to approve the motion will make it that much more difficult or impossible to ever make an argument on behalf of the city.
Again, let's not
Oh,
disclose.
excuse me, a conclusionary statement would be that there are some people who think it's private. There are other people who aren't sure that it is. And I fall into the latter category, having received the advice that we give. And so my comment for the record is that if we're all wrong, we will never have an opportunity, in my opinion, to have this be deemed part of our trail system. And more importantly, we will have given away what could become a property right of the city with no compensation. Thank you.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. The motion is to approve the updated Parks and Trails map and authorize staff to correct any Scrivener's errors prior to printing. There was a suggestion of an amendment.
Yeah, I'm not going to.
Okay. So all in, this is just a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
All right. That passes 5-1. We'll move on to reports. There's no new business. Starting with the mayor, the days all run together, so I apologize if we had the Metro Mayor's Caucus retreat 2 weekends ago. It was a very productive, full-day event. Some of the highlights included presentations by two of the gubernatorial candidates, Barb Kirkmeyer and Phil Weiser. It's my understanding that Michael Bennett was unable to attend and sent an email to all of the mayors and has made arrangements to have, I think, 2 different Zoom meetings with mayors if they wanted to participate in that. There were some really tough questions asked of those candidates. From that I am now stating an opinion. From the perspective of the Metro Mayor's Caucus, and kind of solely the Metro Mayor's Caucus and the issues that mayors in the area are concerned with. I think that Barb Kirkmeyer was a very strong supporter of local control, and I'm going to say was a slam dunk, specifically as it relates to that limited set of issues. I think Phil Weiser was in a tough position. He got asked some pretty pointed questions about lawsuits and legislation around that, and he, tried to make the distinction between the fact that he has a job to do and that he has a client, and that, but it was still a tough position. And so, there was really no way to come out of that unscathed if you're Phil Weiser. And then I've not had the opportunity to hear from Michael Bennett yet. But so again, just in that limited scope of issues, that was how that went down, in my opinion. There's also a presentation by an RTD accountability panel. And regarding, there have been several attempts over the last legislative cycles around governance reform for RTD. There will most likely be yet another attempt. And it's tricky. I think the committee has come forward with a recommendation for an RTD governance board of 4 appointed people and 5 elected people. I think it's still 5. So a slight majority of elected people. There was some interesting discussion, particularly around the notion that what we really need on RTD's governance board is expertise and, specific expertise. And of course, I was thinking to myself the whole time, it'd be really great if we had that in the legislature as well. But it doesn't seem to be a prerequisite for them, so I don't know why it should be for anybody else. But I think I also had the opportunity to meet with the current chair of the RTD board. And, I don't think that a lot of the RTD issues I personally don't think they stem from just the governance. I mean, there's so many issues that RTD faces and has had thrust upon them, some self-created, but we could look for some potential legislation around that as well. Also today was the first committee hearing for House Bill 26-1001, named the Homes Act. I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but it's basically YIGB from last year reincarnated. I think, the testimony was the testimony. I don't know what the outcome of the committee hearing was because it was still going on as I left, but we'll follow up with that. And then the Metro Mayor's Caucus has our regularly scheduled meeting tomorrow morning, so I'll be attending that. The CML Legislative Workshop is coming up in February. I think everyone was invited. I always attend, but if you're interested, by that point, it'll be a lot of recap of things that you've already heard about, but it's an opportunity to network and hear the latest updates on what's going on. So I'd encourage anybody who's interested to attend that. And with that, we'll start on this end this time. Councilor Fisher.
I don't have any report. I was going to give a final report on the coat drive and other winter essentials, as we called it. But when I came today to finally for a final empty of the box, it was so full that I didn't count. So stay tuned, but it was very successful. So thank you to everybody who donated.
Thank you to you.
Yeah, for organizing it. Councilor Robinson.
No report.
Councilor McGuire.
Jay and Rob may have more information on this than I do, but the Arapahoe County Transportation Forum, which feeds into DRCOG, it's the Arapahoe County element of it, found out, had a meeting last week, I believe, and we were told that of the projects that we had submitted for consideration for funding, which I think is distinct from the projects that are already underway. Is that right? None of the Arapahoe County projects got selected. And I think the people were very surprised. And so the forum is sending a letter saying that we'd like them to reconsider that. And none of the projects that impact us directly, but Littleton, I think Bennett, I don't remember where the other projects were. It was surprising that none of them would be approved. So we are sending a letter. There didn't seem to be a very good understanding of what impact that might have, but we felt that it was important to do it. And I don't know, Jay, if you have anything else to add on that.
Yeah, so the technical committee is currently working on that letter. That's not to be confused with the other Dr. Cog funding, though, the TAC money. So these are the bigger projects that we try to work with CDOT with. So like the Bellevue I-25 is one that CDOT said they would consider putting on that list. It's not there. So this is a separate pool of money, and as Councilor McGuire said, Arapahoe County got zero of it. So we're hoping to be able to move some of those funds if possible.
Mayor Pro Tem?
No report. Oftentimes we'll compliment our staff, who's terrific, and sometimes we point out specific members. And tonight I'd just like to thank our city attorney, who we kind of use as a scratching post. So thank you to our city attorney for all that she did.
Councilor Eber?
I will echo the special thanks, especially tonight, to our city attorney for jumping in and handling an interesting discussion during our executive session. I will also mention that I attended the Dr. Cog Board of Directors meeting on January 21st. Mayor, you stole a little bit of my thunder because a lot of the discussion was basically involving transportation matters for the Dr. Cog service area. They started off with a long presentation, or one of the initial things was a long discussion by the RTD representative of some of the findings that they're going to propose, of which was, as you indicated already, a changing of the governance structure and downsizing the governance structure to 9 people, 5 elected, 4 appointed. There was a lot of discussion about how the boundaries would be set for the 5 who would be elected, given how big each of those areas could potentially be, and whether or not it becomes such a disastrous political exercise to set those boundaries that it almost frustrates the ability to have only 5. And there was talk about, do they generally follow congressional districts? Do they, what are going to be the metrics by which they set the boundaries for those 5 elected officials? They don't have answers yet, but that they are aware of that issue. Much of the discussion over the evening, and I certainly, if anybody wants to see the packet, have it here, but it was an awful lot about discussion about the RTD Accountability Committee report, the idea of the 2050 RTD Transportation Plan update, active transportation plan, and to your point that none of them were in, Councilor McGuire, that you mentioned any of them were in Arapahoe County. There was a whole lot of discussion, and they went through and they gave us a status on all the different Dr. Cog type of transportation programs. And I sat next to the gentleman from Bennett, and not one of the discussions addressed anything through the entire evening about Bennett. And I will tell you that that was second only to the fact that I was finding that there was a whole lot of discussion about I-25 north of the metro area as the hottest area that is getting a ton of attention and a ton of projects that are going with all the growth that's going that way. I don't sense that I got an idea that we were excluded from consideration, but that's the hottest growth area, I think, and so there are a lot of projects that are up that way. The other thing of note was a discussion about potentially expanding the coverage of the service area to handle the fact that the metro area is growing west, northwest, up into Jefferson County and up into the further reaches of Boulder County, with the exception of Rocky Mountain National Park in Boulder County, because obviously it's within federal jurisdiction. The other thing that came out of the meeting of note is that next Friday is the winter version of Bike to Work Day. And I don't know if I'm stealing Emily's thunder already by saying this, but Winter Bike to Work Day, Friday, February 13th, weather, W-E-A-T-H-E-R, you're ready or not, Winter Bike Day to Work is almost here. Mark your calendars for the annual event. Celebrates the dedicated commuters who brave the elements by bike. Pledge to a bike ride, show everybody that biking and multimodal transportation can happen year-round regardless of weather. And they asked all of the communities to, again, volunteer or put out some kind of, and I have no idea whether or not we're planning anything like what we did during the summertime, to have people out there and have a station to welcome people as they ride by.
I'm going to take Emily's face as a no.
But the comment obviously was they encouraged all the different municipalities to be involved and participate. And there will be a working staff board meeting coming up next week, and I will report back at the next meeting about that.
Thank you. Counselor Heller.
The next Centennial Noise meeting is tomorrow night. I plan on attending, so I'll report back at the next meeting. We did receive our 2026 invoice, and as anticipated, it is for $0, as I have enough budget to make it through 2026.
Great, thank you. City Manager.
I will go around with any other staff reports first.
I wanted to thank our Public Works clerk, Ginny Joseph. So she did a very nice job over the past year promoting the recreation reimbursement program, both the fact that it exists and all of the different activities that are eligible under that program. So we just closed the 2025 program, and she processed 380 rec reimbursements. Last year we did 249. The year before that was 253. The highest we've done in the last 4 years is 303. So her work has really bumped the participation in that program. And then obviously it's a lot of work to process those applications and look through all the receipts and make sure everything fits. So just a shout out to her, and then also to Director Newman, who then has to cut all of those checks. So thank you to both of them.
Thank you. Director Goldie.
I don't know if many of you have been down the High Line lately. The pond is coming along. We should be done with the first phase here in the next couple weeks. Then as soon as it gets to the right time in the spring, we'll get the plantings in and start filling the pond. So you should see some changes there coming up very quickly.
Can I ask a quick question about that?
Yep.
It does look great, and I walk by there often. Why are the signs still up that say, the trail may be closed in the next 2 months, through the end of December? The trail may be closed from time to time while we're doing this.
Oh, I will make sure we get those down. We've actually been using different access, but there still will be some possible closures, but we'll get those down for now.
Okay.
Director Workman.
No report this evening.
Commander.
No report from me.
City Clerk.
As discussed at the last meeting, I believe it was, staff reached out to CML and CIRSA about possible council trainings. It would be free since we're members, the city, and we can do an hour and a half. There are various topics depending on what you all are interested in. We would probably do it before a regular meeting, sort of an extended study session type deal, but just wanting some feedback from council on that to see if that's what we want to do.
the one area that we might request feedback is both groups indicated that they would need some narrowing of focus. What are the topics that we're looking for?
That's what I was gonna ask.
They don't want to just guess as to, what we're looking for training for.
I'd say trail maps wouldn't be on the list.
Does anybody have any?
I mean, I would like coaching or guidance on what are the best practices for councils? How do effective councils, what are the, common traits that you see among really effective councils? I think that would be good for us.
And maybe, are there tools that we can use to do self-evaluations?
Let me use this as an opportunity to raise this in case anybody hasn't seen it. This is basically CIRSA's handbook, second edition, 2019, Ethics, Liability, and Best Practices for Elected Officials. If anybody wants to look at it in anticipation, there are examples of good practices in here. There are, one of them, of our authors is a colleague of our city attorneys, Linda Michaud. And anyway, there are 3 or 4 authors, but it basically does go from soup to nuts of how to have transparency in meetings, ethics, open meetings and executive sessions, ethical conduct in local government. The discussion when I went to the elected officials meeting this summer focused an awful lot on our neighbors to the south in what's the community right on the other side of Palmer Divide? Maybe it's Palmer Divide. And all of the discussion going on with Buc-ee's and how their council seems to be at war with each other. And there was an awful lot of discussion about how to behave as a council member, even when it becomes contentious, and how to, once a decision is made, to respect the process and move on and get behind the support of the decision, even if it wasn't in favor of particular people who went, whatever it was. But the idea is how to act as a unified group, even though a council is made up of disparate members. So if anybody wants to see it, I'm happy to share, so.
And Councilor Heller, did you?
Yeah, just it may be already included. Haven't looked at the materials, Rob, but I think it's always helpful to have a few case studies. It's good to see what the ethical best practices are, but what's gone wrong and why, especially if there's some trends.
Okay. I'm sure they have some of those they can share. Okay, thank you for that. Where were we? Oh, yeah, we were at City Clerk. Okay. Director of Finance.
No report.
City Attorney.
No report, thank you.
And then City Manager.
How about that? Give council a heads up, just a reminder that the retreat is fast approaching. March 3rd, we have a tentative agenda. It is a full day, a very full day. So eat your Wheaties. We do not have a meeting scheduled that night as of right now, as of yet. So that's at least will probably represent a little bit of a break because, again, it will be a full day. And then also this morning, this does happen periodically, but Director Goldie and I had a chance to give a tour of City Hall to representatives from Lone Tree. We're going to remodel. I don't update council every time that happens, but it does happen quite a bit. I think other cities like the updated and contemporary approach, but that isn't over the top and ostentatious. And I think that resonates, and they want to see how it's done. So kudos to council for that.
Question, Mayor, if I might?
Yeah, Councilor.
On the retreat, I don't know if it's for you, Chris, or Mayor, how do we get items on the agenda, or is there sort of a roundtable part of it?
I think our agenda is fairly full at this point. I don't remember if we have an opportunity to.
Yeah, It's really up to council.
Could we
I
maybe
mean,
have
so
a-
if you have an
a-
item, I guess.
A round table kind of thing where
Sure.
doesn't have to be deep or
Yeah, no,
complicated,
sure.
but I've got a couple items I'd like to.
Okay.
I guess I would just request that you email or just send that in ahead of time so that we can be prepared to provide any additional supplementary information.
Well, I guess what I was going to say is that I would imagine it being similar to this, where rather than having, because what I don't want is council, we need council buy-in on things before staff goes off and starts preparing items. So I think if we want to have a roundtable where people can bring up topics that they'd like for consideration, and we can talk about whether, we should put them on the agenda so if that would work. And then you don't have to be prepared. We can all kind of thumbs up, whether we want to consider that
Yeah, that's
in the
exactly
coming
what I was
year or
talking
not.
about. And
Okay,
maybe
yeah.
use the little clock, we get 2 minutes or 3 minutes.
Okay,
or something
yeah.
like
Okay. All right, well, I think that's everything. If there's nothing else, we will adjourn at 8:35 PM.